All right, welcome back to Lock It or Leave It. The number one and number two picks faced off last night in Vegas, and we're going to break down our initial reactions of these two players. If this is your first time coming across this channel, welcome. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and then it only takes 2 seconds. After you do that, you can go and listen to our interviews with NBA players such as Terrence Mann, Trent Forrest, and I will post those right up here as long as putting them at the end of the video. But without further ado, let's just hop right into it. Aaron, I'm going to go straight to you. Give me your initial reactions for Victor Wembenyama in this showcase in Las Vegas that debuted the number one and number two players facing off in this month's draft.
I saw this coming. I've tweeted about it in the past. Vic's a great prospect, but he's not, the next KD. He's not the next LeBron. He's his own thing. Defensively, looked very solid. Looked pretty good. He might not be, the strongest guy on the court, but he's got the length to make up for it. He can get vertical. He can go sideways. Decent perimeter defender for his size as well, so he can stop, stretch bigs out in the perimeter. But on the offensive side, it's kind of who he's always been. I think uh, people got a little overhyped when they saw his game against Scoot against the G League teams because he shot 7 for 11 from three, and that's just not his game. I mean, historically, he's a low volume, low percentage shooter in Europe. He shoots 29% for his career in Europe, only about 3 attempts per game. So unless he becomes some kind of elite shooter, he's not going to give you, big time offensive numbers. I think right now Rudy Gobert would be a good comp. But if the shot starts falling, I think Kristaps Porzingis is still a pretty good comp because, Jay, we talked about it before. Wemby moves very well for someone his size. He's a great ball handler for someone his size. He's a good playmaker for someone his size. But those all have the qualification for his size. You compare him to guards that are doing playmaking and dribbling and shooting for a living in the NBA. Wemby just doesn't have those kind of skills. So I don't know how that's going to translate to the NBA where, big men can defend that. In Europe, we didn't get as much of that. But in the NBA, I think it's going to be tough for him to create off the dribble, to get open shots. And when he does get those open shots, to make them, he's going to need to put some work in on shooting.
Yeah, now you mentioned Rudy Gobert, and that's what I think his floor is. If nothing else works out for him, we saw the defensive impact was immediate on the court. I think he had 5 blocks in that game. He's kind of just disrupting stuff, being a rim protector. But my question to you is, do you feel the same way about Chet Holmgren? Now, they're the same frame, about the same size. Chet seems like he's a little too long to be on the perimeter, but we've seen Chet look a little more fluid and he looks a little more comfortable with the ball in his hands and on those areas of the court. Now, we always mention he's not physical enough to be a back down defender. Well, being a back down defender in the NBA just by itself is a dying brand of basketball. No one really wants to be a back down center. So where do you think he compares to Chet, and how do you think those two players can fare in the modern NBA?
I mean, I think the big difference is the shot, right? Chet shot 40 something percent at Gonzaga. He can really, really shoot the basketball. He shot at a high clip in high school on the AAU circuit as well. So I'm a bigger believer in Chet's offense, but a little bit lower on his defense. I think overall they're a similar tier of players. Interesting to see who will get the rookie of the year this season. But overall, I think Chet's game translates just a little bit better right now to the NBA. So I would give Chet the nod for rookie of the year over Vic, just because of the offensive standpoint.
Yeah, now we saw that Wemby was guarding Brandon Miller on the perimeter on many occasions. He even blocked one of Brandon Miller's three-point attempts, which was impressive because Brandon's got a pretty fast, a pretty quick release. But then Miller got him back on a double cross in the third quarter, leading to a foul by Wemby. Aaron, how do you think Wemby will fare against guarding veteran or maybe more experienced perimeter guards and wings in the NBA? Now we're seeing him doing it in the summer league, but it's a lot different when that's maybe Jalen Green that you're guarding, or even a player like Tyrese Halliburton, instead of a player like Brandon Miller.
I mean, I think he's going to struggle with guards and more athletic wings on the perimeter, but that's not really, his prerogative. He's more guard, stretch bigs, maybe a stretch four, maybe a stretch five type of get out wide, shoot the ball, space the floor, because he does have the length. The length is there, and he's quick enough. Again, he's fast for his size, which means he can get out there and get on the perimeter on fours and fives, definitely, maybe some threes, but probably not ones and twos as much.
Now we talked about this earlier before this video, which actually prompted the podcast or prompted this video, and that was that Wemby is a good dribbler for his size. I feel like we always have to put that caveat in for his size, right? And he broke down a center. He gave him like a double in and out in between the legs and then found a teammate who was cutting. Teammate didn't finish the shot, but you could see that Wemby's playmaking was kind of there. However, that's not really what you want him doing in an offense, right? Where do you think, or how do you think Wemby can fit in an offense, and where will he excel in an NBA court?
Right now, I think he's kind of just a play finisher, maybe a Mitchell Robinson type on offense. Again, we talked about Rudy Gobert, but Rudy Gobert type. Kind of hang around the rim, set screens, roll off them, and try to catch some lobs, get some putbacks. Work mostly around the rim for right now until the shot develops. Which, if you're the Spurs, I think they're a little while out from competing still. So you have the luxury of letting him shoot 5 or 6 threes a game, hoping it clicks. Because if it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. You probably weren't going to be great this year anyway. So I think his optimal position is a play finisher, like I said, but I really want the Spurs, and I think they will. I think Pop is smart to do this. I think they'll let him get on the perimeter and shoot some threes, try some things out, see what works, see what doesn't.
Yeah, I mentioned this with our other co-host Cam, and the Spurs really this whole year is just let's see how good Wembenyama is, and let's base our future franchise decisions based on how good he is. If he's really good, if he's Luka Doncic, esque, and we're seeing him put up these crazy numbers, then maybe it accelerates our championship window. But if he's gonna have more of a slow incline, more of a slow and steady build up, then we'll have time to be able to surround him with other high draft picks. Sorry about that. Going off of that, let's go to Brandon Miller because we were talking about Wembenyama's shot. It wasn't really there. Brandon Miller's shot is there. Now, I'm a Hornets fan, so I want to make sure that we're going to get some biased opinions here, so I'm going to you. He had 16, 11, and 3, 5 of 15 from the field, 3 of 10 from 3. Now, the field goal percentage isn't great, but he shoots the ball with uber confidence, and his shot's very fluid. One thing I want to point out is that he loves a high screen and roll, being the ball handler in a high screen and roll. If the defender goes under, he's pulling it every time, and he shoots the ball with a confidence. Like, why are you going under the screen? A little initial takeaways from you, Aaron. What are you seeing from Brandon Miller on the court, and how do you think he can progress in the NBA?
I love Brandon Miller's game. He is a terrific shooter. You look at the college level, he shot 38, 39%, I believe it was, from three. And he was terrific around the rim as well. Very good percentage at the rim, good dunker, very athletic. The one thing I want to see him cut down on is the mid ranges. If he can get that out of the game, he's going to be so much more efficient. We know he can shoot three. We know he can finish around the rim. He's a good free throw shooter as well. Shot over 80% at Alabama. That's a great indicator of how he's going to shoot three in the NBA. He just needs to cut down the mid ranges, cut out the inefficient shots. He needs to get on the James Harden diet of shot selection, and I think he's going to have a great long career. I'm really happy that the Hornets took him number 2 overall over Scoot. I think he's a better prospect. It's about time that these NBA GMs finally stop getting caught up in the Stromile Swifts of the world and seeing this athleticism being, oh my goodness, this is the next MJ. The shooting, bigger wing is always going to be a better pick than the small athletic guard. 9.5 times out of 10. So I think the Hornets made the right pick with Miller. I'm very high on.
Yeah, I saw a still. It was a screenshot capture, and I was watching the game, and I saw this too, where it was a transition. Brandon Miller goes to the 3 point line. He spaces the floor. He makes the right read on transition. He goes and spaces the floor, and then the point guard gets doubled going to the basket, and he doesn't kick out to Brandon Miller. He's wide open. And I think that's why having someone like LaMelo Ball in that offense for the Hornets is going to do wonders for Brandon Miller, being able to find him for open spot up shots. And he's quick in transition, but you did mention that his finishing was good, and I kind of want to hold back on that a little bit because I don't think he goes to the basket with the necessary physicality to be able to be a consistent, efficient scorer down, in the paint. And it's not a bad thing because it's kind of a rookie issue. We saw Jason Tatum coming into the league, and he had trouble going and finishing physically and over top of people. Sometimes he wants to go and lay it up, and his teammates and his coaches and the staff are saying, "Go yam that thing, go up with that extra amount of physicality, and it'll pay off dividends later on." Can you talk about maybe some cons you see in Brandon Miller's game other than the mid-range shot? What else do you see that might be a setback when the NBA games really start rolling around?
Well, I think you were spot on when you said the physicality. I think a lot of the reason he does take these mid ranges that aren't the best shots is because he's scared to go into the rim, he's scared to get hit. I think once he gets an NBA gym, gets an NBA diet, workout plan, puts a little more weight on, he will be much better at going to the rim, taking that contact and going to the line. Because, like I said, we know he's a great free throw shooter. You just gotta have the mentality to be able to go in and do that. Stop pulling up from 16 feet. So I agree. I think that's his biggest drawback as of right now is probably physicality.
Yeah, and the one thing about Brandon Miller is he has the necessary frame and the size, right? He's a legitimate 6'8", 6'9", maybe 6'10" with shoes on. And what we're seeing is with LaMelo Ball on the Hornets, you can't hide Brandon Miller in a defense. He's going to have to be guarding some type of guard or wing that's elite in the NBA. With that being said, the foul trouble that we're seeing him get in is a little concerning, and that's just because you can't be picking up ticky-tacky fouls, right? When you have to guard Paul George on the other end. You can't be guarding, picking up these fouls when you have to guard people who have a knack at drawing fouls on the other end. And the worst thing that could happen for him is picking up three in the first quarter and you don't see him again until the third quarter. Can you talk about the foul trouble a little bit? Because I don't want to see Jaren Jackson Jr. 2.0. And the thing about Jaren Jackson is that Jaren Jackson's the defensive player of the year. So he has to kind of take some risks with those fouls in order to, spark the offensive transition for his team. But Brandon Miller's not really a defensive stalwart, and he's still picking up these fouls. Any concern there for you?
A little bit. I think it goes back to his mentality and his mindset again. Defense is mostly about effort. I mean, at the NBA level, you gotta really be working hard. And I think he kind of got off easy a little bit at college, saving himself for offense, people being okay with it. At the NBA level, it's not going to work. He's gonna have to grind it out a little bit. And again, it comes back to wanting to do it. Um, so I think he'll be okay long term. At the beginning of his career, I think there could be some issues. We see it a lot with guys on defense, beginning of their career, who are mainly offensive guys in college who really struggle on the defensive side of the ball. Some turn it around, some don't. I think Andrew Wiggins is a good template. Number one overall, was a 2013 draft. I think a fully developed Brandon Miller could look a lot like the current version of Andrew Wiggins or championship Andrew Wiggins from the Warriors. Good shooter, good finisher around the rim, kind of more of a second, third option, but also a very good wing defender who can guard pretty much 1 through 4, maybe not the post as much. But I think that's a good template for what a peak Brandon Miller could look like.
Now, the Hornets are going into the season with a little bit of expectations, not a lot. And what I mean by that is they don't want to be bottom of the East again. They kind of at least want to be in that playoff play-in contention. If we're bringing back Miles Bridges 10 games into the season, we keep PJ, we keep LaMelo Ball. We have some pieces with Terry Rozier and Brandon Miller there too. So opposite of Wemby, how you said he'll have a lot of time to kind of just try things out, Brandon Miller is going into a team that kind of doesn't have an identity yet, but they definitely have bona fide, solidified players in the NBA. And that's why I'm a little perplexed by the lack of plays being ran for Brandon Miller. We kind of want to see him get those shots and get these opportunities before he's kind of restricted in offense with the Hornets. Can you talk about what we're seeing maybe from these summer league coaches and how they can maybe do a better job with drawing up plays for these high lottery picks who are just trying to get their feet wet in the NBA?
I think you also got to take a look at the other guys as well. I mean, Brandon Miller took 15 shots last night. He also shot 7 or 8 free throws. It's not like he's not getting the ball. He's getting the ball plenty. I don't have an issue with that. But at the same time, there's other guys, on the court. You can't just look at the one. You got to take a look at everybody. You never know if there's a diamond in the rough, Isaiah Thomas, Nikola Jokic, something like that. Brandon Miller get plenty of shots in the NBA. Most of these guys won't. They're seeing if they're going to make a roster or not. So at the end of the day, I'm okay with him not taking every single shot, but 15, 16 shots a game, that sounds about right because you don't want to have him take 20 and miss all of them, lose confidence. He's got to find a middle ground, and I'm okay with how it's been handled so far.
So to kind of wrap up, we've seen Summer League kind of go in the Sacramento Classic. We've seen the Salt Lake City Classic. Las Vegas Summer League is now starting to ramp up. And I just want to let everyone know, take everything you see in Summer League with a grain of salt. You might see someone go for 40 in Summer League and then they have a two-way contract and you don't see them make the court in an NBA regular season. But with that being said, there are some players who you can tell they're going to take that leap, or maybe not that leap, but they have seen significant growth in the offseason. Keegan Murray, Ochai Agbaji, some players like this where they're playing summer league and you can tell there's a step up, or that NBA knowledge, that 1 year of experience has really done them well. Hopefully we'll see that with some Magic players like your team and then my Hornets. But with that being said, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel for more NBA, NFL, and maybe even a little bit of CONCACAF soccer reactions with these knockouts coming out. But until then, man, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace. More NBA, NFL